Hi everyone, Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, is facing a new vote of no confidence in the European Commission. Now, this has come at the back of the vote of no confidence, which she won back in July by 360 votes to 175 by the European Parliament, and of course the 720 MEPs. And if you consider those numbers, around 30 to 40% of those MEPs didn't even show up for the vote. And of course she was supported by quite a number of Irish MEPs in her vote of no confidence and censure, which is a vote on the entire European Commission. So this vote is coming about because of an announcement by members of the left bloc in the European Parliament, led by a French woman called Manon Aubry, who said that Europe has been vassalised by the United States. This comes at the back at a 15% tariff agreement that was agreed with the United States, and has come because it's been seen as a major capitulation by the European Union in terms of the tariff deals with the United States. And most recently we've seen the announcement that the pharmaceutical companies will be added to this. And of course the Irish government's response was, this is predictability, it's certainty. But of course they would say that, wouldn't they? Because they've no interest in getting the best deal for Ireland. They're more interested in working for the big corporations and their master in Brussels, Ursula von der Leyen. Now, let's see how this vote develops over the next period of time. She's also faced the decision by the European Court of Justice in relation to her text messages with the Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, and those text messages which she wouldn't disclose about that multi-billion euro deal about the jabs through COVID-19. Not to mention her issues around Israel, for instance, not speaking about the children being protected in Gaza. Of course, she's no real interest in standing up for the children in Gaza. She's also waved the Israeli flag, for instance, on many European buildings during her presidency. And also in Ukraine, she's been pushing this agenda to claim it's about the free and democratic Ukraine, when it's about the US's proxy war and about the famous Division of Labour speech that was iterated by Pete Hegseth, the US Secretary of Defence. He spoke a number of months ago about getting Europe to step up, stroke NATO to step up to this. Already we've seen Ireland become part of this so-called coalition of the willing, without ordinary people in Ireland being made aware of what's really taking place in the war in Ukraine, this proxy war. And she's a former board member of the World Economic Forum, pushing the globalist agenda. And not to mention Friedrich Merz, who was recently spoke, an ex-BlackRock, of course, the Prime Minister of Germany, who was recently spoke that von der Leyen should now be a candidate for the presidential election in Germany in 2027. And of course she was called, and the Commission was called, likened to a powerful consigliere by Emily O'Reilly, the former ombudsman of the European Union, ran by a mafia operation. And of course she's failed because of the net zero deal, the so-called Green Deal across Europe, which again is an attack on ordinary people, farmers, workers, and looks after the big corporations. Now she's moved on to this Rearming Europe plan, 800 billion euro plan of moving towards more war on the continent of Europe and profiting the military-industrial complex, and of course making more money for those who profit from the butchery and inhumanity of wars. But and not to mention the centralised power and power grab across the European Union. And 70% of our legislation, of course, in Ireland is transposed from European directives into Irish legislation. This comes at the same time when the approval rating in von der Leyen here in Ireland is at an all-time low. Unsurprisingly, 51% of people in a recent poll said they disapprove of von der Leyen, while 27%, according to this poll, claim that they approve of von der Leyen. I wonder who those 27% of people rather than 27 people are at the same time. And of course, they've said that the European Union has failed on many issues, such as the tariffs, the cost of living disaster, and many more issues in society here in Ireland. And also at the same time, what is interesting is the family connection of von der Leyen herself through her NAZIs in her family. Of course, relations to slave owners in the United States, and not to mention her own involvement when she was Minister for Defence in Germany in terms of her own contracts that were organised when she was in that position as well. So von der Leyen herself is facing these pressures. It should come to a head. It should ask a bigger question about the European Union, about the whole centralisation of power towards this totalitarian dystopia that we're driven towards. We see this also with the hate speech legislation, Digital Services Act as well, I could add in. So let's see how this develops over the next period of time. People should have no confidence in this institution, which is a drive towards imperialism, technocracy, taking control away from ordinary people, and see this supranational state calling the shots across Europe and all these countries. And of course, Martin himself, the EU branch manager here in Ireland, says that sovereignty is a backward looking idea, but at the same time they want to struggle and fight for Ukrainian sovereignty. Complete hypocrisy. And that's why language is so important in these debates and discussions, to get to the truth, to what's really taking place in society. So let's see how this develops over the next period of time, and I'll keep you posted. And thanks for all the support with all my videos. I'm very grateful for all the support with all my videos. Please keep sharing and subscribe to my channel. So from Dublin to Long Take care.